Good evening. I'm Courtney Bird. I'm the vice chairman, and I'm going to be sitting in for our chairman, Jamie, who couldn't be here. And I'm calling the Wednesday, January 8, 2025 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission to order. Before we start, I want to confirm that all members of the commission are present except for Jamie Matthews and Betsy Gladfelder.
Yes.
And also, I'd like to welcome our staff, Jen, Alyssa, Fallon, Mark, Laurie, and Kristen. This open meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission is being conducted via Zoom and is also being broadcast on cable channel 9 and streamed online at fctv.org. Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full participation in this meeting. For those who want to view the meeting but do not want to participate, we suggest viewing on FCTV. Members of the public who want to make comments or ask questions during the meeting may join the meeting as Zoom attendees, which allows you to submit for the record written comments and questions via the chat function, and also to see and to hear the meeting in real time. If you want to speak at the meeting, let us know via the chat function. At the appropriate time, the chair will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. Your audio and your video must be enabled. Be succinct in your comments and respectful of others. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes each and are confined to issues before this commission, not zoning or other aesthetic issues. The link and the instructions for joining the meeting are posted in the agenda posting and can be found at www.falmouth.gov conservation. FCTV will also be posting information on how to access the Zoom meeting during the broadcast of this meeting. This meeting is also being recorded, so please be aware that you as a panelist can be seen and heard unless you have muted your microphone and shut off your camera. And that includes any open windows on your computer if you are using the screen share function. Therefore, please act accordingly. Before turning to the first item on the agenda, I want to review some basic ground rules for orderly conduct of our business and to assure accurate meeting minutes. As chair, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. Please remember when you speak to unmute your microphone and turn on your video so that you can be both heard and seen and speak clearly. Please do not speak unless recognized by the chair. If you are a meeting attendee and want to ask a question or make a comment, please use the chat function. After each presentation, the chair will ask staff members for questions or comments. The chair will then ask for commissioner comments and or questions. After the presentation and staff and commission discussion, the chair will ask a staff member to read any questions or comments typed into the Zoom chat by members of the public. Following that, the chair will call for public comment. All votes of this remote meeting will be taken by roll call. I will call out the name of each member and ask you to repeat your last name before stating your vote. Now, the first order of business on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the meeting of December 18, 2024. Has anyone read the minutes and want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and I'd move approval of the minutes as written.
Right, do we have a second?
Driscoll second.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Are there any changes? No. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Let's see. I'm sorry. Bird, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
I think we got them all. It's passed. Okay, next set of minutes was from the meeting of December 27, 2024. Has anybody read the minutes and want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written. Patton?
Okay,
Driscoll second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as written. Is any questions, discussion, changes, or modifications? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Port, yes. Kevin?
O'Brien, yes.
Okay. Maury?
Carla Hawks, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
Motion carried. Next, we go to request for continuances under a determination of applicability. Jen?
Courtney, you want to read it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Joshua Cardoza, 40 Mary Manual Way, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to remove vegetation and conduct grading.
Alyssa?
The applicant has requested a continuance until January 22nd.
Carla
Thank you.
Hawks, so moved.
Okay. And we have
Driscoll
a
second.
Okay, is there a reason? Do you have a reason? Did you have a reason? Is there a reason for this?
Yes, staff is still working through the plan for right now.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to continue this until what's the date?
22nd.
January 22nd. Okay. Bird, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
James, Maury.
Carla Hawks, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
Motion carried. Next, we have a request for continuance under a notice of intent. First, Michael Bedard, 27 Sycamore LLC, 27 Sycamore Street, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to raise RAZE, the existing family dwelling and shed, and construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, deck, porch, and install a paved driveway and retaining wall, connect to town sewer, and install mitigation plantings. Jen or Alyssa?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until January 22nd.
So moved,
Okay.
Carla Hawks.
Driscoll
We have a second.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this to 22nd. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carla Hawks, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It's carried unanimously. Next, Wayne Van Wart, the Seashell Lane Community Association, Inc., 0 Davisville Road, map/parcel number 40-11-013-000, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct and enlarge an existing licensed community dock system. Jennifer?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until January 22nd.
So moved,
Continue,
Carla
okay.
Hawks.
Okay, the
Driscoll
motion,
second.
do we have a second?
Driscoll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue this to the
Excuse me.
22nd. Is
Excuse
there
me,
any question?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
which item is this?
This is
It's
Seashell Lane.
Seashell Lane, Wayne Van Wart.
Thank you.
Second thing on continuances. Okay, so ready for the vote? Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
and Steve.
Patton, aye.
Motion carried unanimous. Next continuance, Nicholas Polichrunis. I've destroyed that one. I'm apologizing. 10 Central Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove a patio, construct an addition, install a fence, and install plantings.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until February 26th.
So moved, Carla Hawks.
Driscoll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing to the 26th. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carla Hawks, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
motion carried. The hearing is continued to the 26th. Next, we have requests for continuance under an enforcement order. Jane Furr, 2622 and 0 Shoreview Avenue, that's map and parcel number 39-02C-000-504, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted removal of salt marsh vegetation and unpermitted reconstruction of a deck within conservation jurisdiction. Jay,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting or the resident is requesting a continuance until February 26th.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll second.
or your motion is second to continue this to the 25th or 6th, did you say?
26th,
That's
2-6.
6, not 5, right? Yeah.
correct.
Okay, February 26th. Is there any questions, discussion, or anything by the commission? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All, Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
motion carried. It's continued to the 26th. Next, they're actually, they're Patricia Burke, or I'm sorry, Patrick Burke, trustee, Church Street Trust, 158 Church Street, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted removal of vegetation within a buffer to coastal bank.
Alyssa, do you have the continuance date on this one?
Yes, in speaking with their engineer, we have chosen February 26th. I'll give them enough
Okay.
time to finish up their plan and allow for some staff review.
Okay, now it's just 158 because,
They're actually both will be continued. It just didn't make it that way on the agenda.
okay, so just out of curiosity, the John Cook, which is 170 Church Street, is that also part of the same thing?
Yes, they're together.
So, all right, so we need to vote that one as well, but we'll do that separately.
Yes.
All right.
Correct.
All those in, I'm sorry, we haven't, is there any comments, questions about this? Okay, hearing none, we do have a motion and a second, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Bird, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury. Maury, you're muted.
I'm sorry, Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron
Driscoll, aye.
and Steve.
Patton, aye.
Okay, so that one has been continued. We'll hold the other one till we get to that item on the agenda since it didn't appear at this point. Moving on, request for determination for applicability. Under a request for determination of applicability as RDA, the applicant is asking the Conservation Commission to decide if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to the proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and or bylaw do not apply, therefore it can proceed as proposed. A positive determination is that the provisions of the act and the bylaw do apply, therefore the applicant will have to submit a notice of intent for the project if he or she wants to go forward with it. In simplest terms, a no means yes. Okay, first up, Maria Hickey Associates, Landscape Inc., 20 Wheeling Avenue, Falmouth, Mass., for permission to temporarily install hay bales and snow fencing, plant American beach grass, and conduct dune nourishment. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Staff also recommends a +1 for the use of hay bales. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and I can elaborate.
Okay, let's get a motion first. We need a motion.
Well, I think, Courtney, let Alyssa explain our
Okay, go ahead.
recommendation, because Maria does want to address the board.
All right, go ahead.
So
Alyssa.
maybe you can start bringing her in,
I
Jen. Yes.
just got her.
Okay, yeah. So in review, we did meet Maria on site to go over this project and the one following. The idea is to help retain these dunes during the harsh weather of the winter months. Staff was uncomfortable with the use of hay bales. We have seen them used on other properties and a bit on this 20 Wheeling property, where you can see that there is some damage to the dunes once the hay bales are used. Staff was unclear on the board's view of the use of hay bales during the winter, so we wanted to bring this to your attention and insight discussion. And Maria's here to advocate for the project.
Okay, what I'd like to do is have hear a motion on your finding or your recommendation, and then we'll hear from Maria. Okay, so I need a motion, and the motion would be for what? A negative on everything except the hay bales? Is that basically it?
Correct.
Okay, so I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I'm uncomfortable. I'm not ready to vote yes or no on the hay bales. Could I?
so you we want to separate it out? Is that what you're thinking?
No, I wanted to hear the discussion, actually.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Maria. Then on that basis, Maria, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you need to tell us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Good evening, commissioners, board members, and conservation staff. For the record, Maria Hickey and Associates Landscapes. There is about 900 feet of a concrete wall that abuts a beach at the mouth of Falmouth Harbor, and it goes through a number of properties. We have 20 Wheeling Lane as a client, and they have a sand dune on the edge of their property. And each winter, all the other homeowners have installed hay bales because during the winter, if we have really strong storms, the waves come right up on the land and they're taking the beach, they're desecrating the beach dunes. One of the homes lost about 15 feet of dune last year. And we have found that the hay bales, when installed along the top of that wall, prevent the waves coming through and taking the dune out to sea. And our methodology for doing this for like the last 10 years was that we stacked two hay bales high along the top of the wall. So the hay bales are 2 feet wide. 1 foot's on the wall, 1 foot is on the actual dune. And we have to put the stake through the backside of the hay bale because the wall is in the way. You can't get a stake through concrete. Conversely, the neighbors on our left have not put stakes in, and every year their hay bales wash out to sea. And I have photographs that I've emailed to conservation. I can share those with you as well that show this. The property to the right of us has never put hay bales, and they have 140 feet. And they are missing a huge section of dune. The erosion is just horrific. And they came to me and asked me, and that'll be the following RDA, for help on their parcel. When we put half the hay bale across the top of this concrete wall, and the back half of it is in the dune, we lose about 12 inches of beach grass. Our error in the past, there was a miscommunication. We thought that the permit, which they had a number of years ago to put the hay bales and the snow fence in, was in perpetuity. I was told the wrong information. So I came in and I met with Alyssa and Jen during office hours. They also came out and did a site visit because we always want to do things the right way, ask for permission, et cetera, et cetera. And we had volunteered back in the spring to replant the section of beach grass, the 12 inches that was missing from damage from the hay bales, which had stayed on the property for an extra month and a half. That's a whole nother conversation. So in our professional opinion, and we do a lot of hay bales and silt sock on all of our properties when we're doing projects to prevent any erosion, the 12 inches of damaged beach grass, which can be replanted every year, is far less detrimental to the dune than losing 15 feet of the dune because there's no hay bales. I'm going to see if I can share my, let me know if this comes up. Hold on the screen because first time I'm trying to do this. Let's see. I might not be able to do this. Nope, I can't. Okay. Well, Jen and Alyssa do have the photos and found I emailed them to them. And they have the photos of what it looked like. Crap. Hopefully you guys can still see me. I've lost you for a second. Give me 3 seconds here.
We can still see you, Maria.
Okay, perfect. For whatever reason, it's not allowing me. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, it's not allowing me to share what I wanted to share to you guys. Which
What
are the
did you want to
pictures?
share, Maria?
I wanted to share with you the pictures of the two clients on the left where they didn't stake their hay bales and they washed out to sea, and the property at 21 Wheeling that has lost about 15 feet of the dune for not having hay bales. So number 20, I have the photo with the hay bales staked 2 hay bales wide. We lost no section of the dune. We had a band of 12 inches of American beach grass that was damaged from those hay bales not being taken out till the end of May. Normally we would take them out in April. And if there was any damage at all to the beach grass, we replant new beach grass. So we feel like the protection of the dune far outweighs not putting hay bales in and losing the dune to sea. Because the coastal beach erosion, as we all know, really from Falmouth Harbor, or really from Minot Beach all the way down to Woods Hole on that southeast side is really bad. And we just are trying to protect the integrity of the dune. So hopefully I've explained that in a way that everyone can understand. So there is no zero risk, but I'd rather have 12 inches of beach grass that we replant than lose 15 feet of a dune by not having any hay bales.
You done, Maria?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I can offer some comments regarding that. They
Please.
did not lose 15 feet of dune. This is what happens
It was
when
21 that lost 15 feet.
you mean that 15 feet, Maria, right there? That was from your machine going down through the dune to
Actually,
take
that
the
was
hay
the
bales
neighbor.
out.
That was the neighbor that hay bales. I have
That was
other
the
pictures.
neighbor's hay bales
Correct.
on your client's property.
They were on half on our side and half on 20 Wheeling.
This
And
is the
15
damage
feet
that's
dune-
done.
The 21 Wheeling is where we lost 15 feet of dune.
Okay, I can show that picture when we get to
Thank
21
you.
Wheeling.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
And just for clarification, you stated that you were told that the permit was forever and the permit was for hay
Correct.
bales and snow fencing. The permit was never for hay bales. It was always just for the installation of snow fencing.
Yep.
And for the past 20 years, I don't think I have ever issued a forever permit. I am tired of people telling us we issue permits in perpetuity. Is not allowed under the Wetlands Protection Act, and it is not allowed under the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. That was not your fault. You stated that you were given false information, but the hay
Correct.
bales were never permitted during that snow fencing project. I know exactly what project that was.
Sure. And with all due
Yeah.
respect, we will file an RDA every year for the next however many years.
You
I'm
don't need
always-
to file one every year. You could file one every 3 years.
Okay.
Okay. We're still just a little concerned with the damage to the dune, but if the
Sure.
board feels that Maria can replant it and restore it each year, that's what the issue is. She's requesting on this particular project, which is 20 Wheeling, to restore the dune that I just showed you a picture of.
Correct.
Add the snow fencing in front of the wall to help accrete sand. And 2, to install the hay bales partially on the wall and partially on the dune. And I can show the board another picture. this is what happens to the dune when the hay bales go on it. So this is the damage we are referring to and concerned with.
Okay.
The snow fencing would go right here. And that would help trap sand behind that. It would be in staggered rows right here in like a sawtooth pattern. And then the hay bales would go. So you're also going to be putting hay bales on that portion of the dune as well.
Correct. And in this area, where it shows no grass, there's a concrete footing right on the backside. There's sand on top of it, so I'd love to take staff out there and show you. So that, in that section, when it looks like there's part of dune missing, it's just that nothing can grow there because it's concrete.
And what about on the other side where there is grass? There's no concrete footing on that side?
No, that's from the hay bales. And that's what we were offering to repair and replant. And we had offered to do that this spring, and you guys had said file RDA, which that's what we're doing.
You're saying
Yeah.
right here, there's a
Yes.
concrete footing, but right
Correct.
here, there's no concrete footing?
Correct. It's a really weird setup. And we can try to cantilever the hay bale over the front of the wall a little bit more so that where the stake and the hay bale goes, I thought last year we had it right there, the first available spot of where there's beach grass. I don't know how
So
long that
how
will.
would you remove these hay bales every year, Maria, without
Just-
impacting the dune where you said the neighbor put the hay bales on the property? Because you told me this afternoon that that area was done because you needed to get your machine in there to lift the hay bales because they were waterlogged. And you have,
Yeah.
you know, they weigh 900 pounds or whatever it is you said this afternoon. How are you going to get a machine in there to lift these hay bales out?
We're just going to manually lift them.
You said this afternoon you couldn't manually lift them because they're
The ones that
waterlogged.
this spring, because they sat there for a month longer than they should have, and we had a ton of rain this spring. It was like record rainiest spring. So they were so waterlogged. We tried to get them out manually. So beginning of April, we get them out of there, and that's usually typically before the rainy season starts.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, our recommendation stands based on the field conditions.
Okay. Are there any other comments from staff? How about, I'll take comments from the commission and then I have a question, but I'll start with you, Ron. Do you have anything?
Okay, I was just curious, you know, it seems like if the hay bales work and it was just negligent, they didn't get it out in time, there should be some sort of pictures or history of that happening. And right now it's just sitting there now with last year's pictures. If this has been that successful, why aren't more people doing it to save the dunes in the backyard?
Evan?
I would just ditto the past comments.
Steve, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, it seems that with proper maintenance, these are successful tools. Hay bales are successful tools.
So you're okay with them? Is that what you're saying? Maury? You're muted.
Laura, you're on mute.
I'm going to go with staff's recommendation, and the reason is that I don't want to be contradictory to Maria, but it's in a V zone. The waves wash over it. That's why the dune is leaving. So the wet of the hay bale is not because of the rainy season. It's because they're saturated with salt water all winter long. The snow fence is more practical. I have not seen I'm honestly, I have never seen hay bales used in that particular instance. So I can't professionally say if it works or not. But I think that we have putting that many hay bales in a V zone. The snow fence we've had history with snow fence working, and picking up 300-400 pound hay bales. It's not happening. A machine's going to go down and it's going to have to do it. Either that or they take it all apart and whatever, but I'm gonna just go with staff. Not that I'm saying that this might not work, but I just have not seen enough history to know if it does or not. And staff knows more than I do, so thank you.
Now, and my question is Maria, did you put in snow fencing on the forward side of that wall all along? Is that what and you're saying that's not adequate?
She didn't put in snow fencing. She put in a stockade fence, which we promptly had removed
Ooh,
Okay,
because it was a stockade fence in a V zone.
yeah.
It was
So-
not snow fencing. It was a stockade wooden fence.
Correct. And the stockade fence had no negative impact in the V zone, but the neighbors to the left of us, which I would
Stop
ask if you could
focusing on the neighbor, Maria.
Okay.
Focus on your
Could you
project.
share? Okay. We staked our hay bales, not a single hay bale moved. We put our fence posts 4 feet down, not a single panel of fence moved. We were given the wrong information by the client saying that this is what had been done every year for the history of the property. My fault, because I should have come in during office hours and confirmed that with you guys. You know, I'm always there every week. And I'm very, very, very conscientious. And as you'll see in the hearing, the RDA for 21 wheeling, you're going to see the impact of when there are no hay bales used at all. And it's very dramatic. And we have been very successful for the last 10 years of not losing any portion of the dune in front of 20 wheeling. The only impacted area has been where the hay bales were put on the side. And we had like 5 weeks of rain in the spring. We went in, we should have taken them out in April, the day that we went in and looked at them. And we didn't because we had other things going on at the property. We're like, we'll come back next week. And then it rained. I can send you the weather forecast for the spring. And the hay bales became very, very, very saturated. We were lucky on that property. The waves did not come up that high this past winter, but they did at 21 wheeling, which when we get to that hearing, you're going to see those pictures, and that's where they lost 15 feet of the dune. No fencing, no hay bales were used over there. So we're asking permission for that, for the property next door.
My observation is that we've got a question about methodology and so on. And we've spent a lot of time on something that there's an old rule of thumb, if it takes longer than 5 minutes, it should be in a notice of intent. So I think I think I'm inclined to go with the staff's recommendation, much as I understand what you're trying to do, Maria, but I think what you guys got to do is go back and come up with a proposal that you can sell to us and before next winter time that works and has an appropriate comfort zone for our staff as well. And I know you're ingenious enough that you can do that. Any other questions before I go to the vote? We're going to separate.
Just for the
this out.
record, the last time that we permitted the snow fencing, it was done under an NOI. So when we permitted the snow fencing,
And when
in the
was that?
beach- It was
When
it
was
was
that?
it was years ago. It was a big part of a beach maintenance plan where they
Right.
came in. It was they got to clean up their beach, and in the winter time they would install snow fencing to help accrete the sand. So that was done under a notice.
Courtney,
And I
with all
can
due-
provide you that notice, Maria. Absolutely 100% provide that notice.
And Courtney, what I just wanted to share is I went in during office hours a number of times and asked for the guidance and expertise of the staff of what level permitting needed to be done. And I was told an RDA. I got a staff report today that said they weren't going to support the hay bales. That had never been said. I would have, from day one, done a notice of intent hearing if I thought that we would get this positive recommendation from staff.
Yeah.
about the hay
Maria,
Yep.
we met
So-
on site with Alyssa. Courtney, let me finish. And I told you I was thinking about the hay bales. I never
Correct.
said that I agreed to permit the hay bales under an RDA. I said that very clearly on site. Alyssa was standing right there. I said you could re-nourish the dune that got destroyed by either your machine or the hay bales or a combination of both, that you could plant your beach grass, and that you could install your snow fencing because you come in, whirl around, and leave. We met on site. I said that that would be okay to try to repair the damage that was done under an RDA. I did never confirmed that I would allow the hay bales under an RDA. Do you agree with that statement?
I would agree, and I submitted the RDA, God, 5 weeks ago. So
You did
why
not
was
submit
it?
the RDA 5 weeks ago.
I did.
Well,
and why-
okay, so
because
I'm
Oklahoma-
gonna,
And I wasn't notified till today in writing that you guys aren't going to allow the hay bales.
Maria, I'm the chair.
Okay.
Let me make a
Okay.
comment here. This has gone on longer than I would have liked for an RDA. And obviously there's some issues here that need to be rethought. And so I think the best thing is to accept staff's recommendation. We'll divide the vote into two parts. We'll address the first part of staff's recommendation, which Alyssa, I'll ask you to repeat in a second. And we'll have a motion on that, and we'll vote on that, and then we'll vote on the positive part of their recommendation following that. And then my recommendation would be that Maria, that you get together with staff and sort this out and come back with an appropriate proposal that satisfies staff's concerns. And you know, I hear what you're trying to do, and I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, this is one of the reasons why staff and the law is written that you don't sort of grant these blanket in perpetuity types of maintenance situations. So,
Agreed.
Maury, did you have a comment? You're on mute.
Mute. This has gone on way too long for an RDA, number one. Number two, 20 Wheeling has a wall, a solid vertical revetment wall, which in itself is protection to that dune. So I think we should go with staff's recommendation and move forward and get to the next RDA and move on with the evening. Thank you.
Yep. So first we're gonna have two motions. One to approve staff's first part, which was a negative determination. Would you repeat that part, Alyssa?
Yes, staff recommended a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
And this is excluding the issue of the hay bales.
Correct.
So
Okay,
moved, Harlow Hawks.
have a second.
And
Driscoll
second.
second.
All right, so I'm gonna call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And
Okay, that motion carries. Now, the second part was a positive determination. Alyssa, would you please read that?
Yep, it was just a +1 for the use of hay bales during the project.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll
Second.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
no.
Motion carried. We'll move on to the next one. The next one, request for determination of applicability, Maria Hickey and Associates Landscapes, Inc., 21 Wheeling Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to temporarily install hay bales and snow fencing, plant American beach grass, and conduct dune nourishment. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. We also recommend a +1 for the use of hay bales. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Okay, and we'll divide this in two. So the first part is a negative. So do I have a motion on the first
So
Wait,
part?
Mr. Chairman, Maria wanted us to show the picture so you all have information. You want me to show the picture of
Right.
20 Wheeling because she
Sure.
can't share right now. So
21,
please allow
yes.
me to do that.
Thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. And Maria, on this one, you were going to install the snow fencing in sawtooth pattern right here.
Correct.
I can't remember, were you going to add material and plant this one too, or just put the hay bales on the top?
Put the hay bales on the top. And there's a second
Okay.
picture that shows the other view that's a giant chunk.
Like this one?
No, there's one that's like a significant part of the dune that's
Okay,
missing.
so this is the first house we saw, this one right here. This is just a dune parcel.
So
And
this is, yeah,
the
21
area
Wheeling.
that's missing. This is the ones we have from the staff report, Maria. So I can't get yours right now. Okay.
Crap. I emailed them today.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find them. Did you email them to everyone or
Yes.
just Fallon?
It was an email to all.
All? Okay.
I'll see while you're looking if I can upload. Here we go. I got it.
Okay.
So this is 20 Wheeling, what it looked like last year with the hay bales. And this is 21. This is 20. This is further down the road where they didn't stake their hay bales.
But you're not supposed to be using them anyway.
Right.
Correct. 2 houses in a row. This is what got washed away. No hay bales were used on these 2 sections.
But you used snow fencing?
Nothing.
No.
No snow fencing, no hay bales. The ocean came right up, took the dune away. This is a continuous concrete wall that runs 120 feet along 120, and then about 60 feet along 20 Wheeling, 120 feet along 21 Wheeling. So that's just to show you the impact of what the waves come up and they pull the dune away. And
So,
this
so
picture,
what we're gonna approve is that you're putting snow fence along the water side of that wall, is that correct?
Yes.
And then
so
the second part of that is to put I'm
hay
sorry,
bales,
hay
Okay.
bales, and those we have a positive on, is that correct?
and this is just
Okay.
to show you the difference of when no hay bales are used, what happens.
Yeah, but the variable is the snow fence. There's no snow fence in your equation.
Well, we had a stockade fence right here. Stockade fence and hay bales at 20 Wheeling with nothing at 21. And the 2 houses to the right of 20 Wheeling put their own hay bales in. No stakes and the hay bales washed out to sea.
Yep.
And that's,
Okay.
you know,
Well, what we have in front of us is 21 Wheeling Avenue.
correct.
And we have 2 parts of this, and one is a negative that on the snow fence, and there's a positive on the hay bales. So sounds
Okay.
like, and on the snow fence, I would assume that it also includes that you can replant beach grass
Correct.
and so forth. So it's
Correct.
the only negative part is putting hay bales there.
Correct.
Are we all clear on that?
Yes.
So, all right. So the first motion is to approve all the work.
Maria, can you stop sharing, please?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry
So
about
the
that.
first motion is to approve all the work with the exception of the hay bales, snow fence, beach grass, and so forth. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have, or do I need a motion? I'm trying to remember. Did you make a motion, Maury, on that?
No, we didn't, because you wanted to separate them and then Maria wanted to
Yeah,
talk.
okay. So the
I'm gonna
first
make a motion
Yeah,
to
so the first
accept
motion
staff's-
is to, is a negative determination
Mr. Chairman, you
install
can
a snow
combine them on
fence
this item.
and beach grass. So
So
do I
moved.
hear a motion to that?
So moved
Courtney,
on
you
lots.
need to let people talk. Steve, what was that?
On this item, you can combine them. Then we'll have an experiment.
We can combine if you'd rather.
Yes, sir.
So we'll just take staff's recommendation of a
Yes, sir.
positive and a negative.
Thank you,
How
Mr. Chairman.
so moved.
Yeah,
Driscoll,
wait a
second.
second. Yep, all right. We've got a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Bird says yes. Kevin,
O'Brien, yes.
Amori,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
motion carried. Okay, let's move on. Next one is continued. That's Joshua Cardoza, 40 Manuel Way, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to remove vegetation. That has been continued. Next is Irina Wasserman, trustee, 11 Wicker Tree Road, Falmouth. Permission to raise and rebuild a single-family dwelling with attached garage, remove and reconstruct a driveway, install dry wells, and conduct associated grading and utility installation. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in a flood zone.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll, second.
all right, I have a motion and a second to approve it. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
motion carried. We've approved that. Next, Elmer Bartek, 105 Eel River Road, Falmouth, Mass, to permission to install an in-ground pool and a patio. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
I'm
So
hearing
moved, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll, second.
we have a motion and a second to approve or issue a negative on Bartek. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
motion carried. Next, Michael R. and Michelle A. Banks, 25 Emerson Road, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to remove a failed cesspool, install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll, second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
motion carried. Next, R.M. Shaw Tree and Landscape, 77 Chase Road, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to remove brush piles, remove vegetation, install native plantings. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Harlow Hawks, so moved.
Driscoll, second.
we have a motion and a second to approve Shaw Tree and Landscape. Do we have any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
motion carried. Next, Larry White, 194 Acapesca Road, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to construct a roof over an existing patio. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and a -3 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll, second.
we have a motion and a second to approve Larry White. I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
motion carried. Next, we have continued request for determination of applicability. Douglas H. and Kristen Shearer, 30 Chappaquoit Road, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to install mitigation plantings in accordance with Mass DEP number 25-3874. Alyssa,
The applicant has requested a continuance until January 22nd.
So
And
moved,
the
Harlow
reason-
Hawks.
Driscoll, second.
And the reason.
Staff is still working through the plan in terms of the mitigation plantings.
Okay, any discussion? I'll call for the vote. This is to continue this till the 22nd of January.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
This hearing is continued until the 22nd. James and Colleen Imormino, I'm sorry, I fractured that, 143 Meadowneck Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing deck. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to issue a negative determination. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Matt and I,
Motion carried. Next, we move to hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. So, first hearing is Michael Bedard, which has been previously continued. Next, Philip P. Skonstas, Revocable Trust of 2006, 4 Pocasset Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove the existing shed and deck and to construct 2 additions. Jennifer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Tim Santos up to present his project. Evening, Tim.
Good evening.
All right, Tim, you're on deck.
For the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers representing the applicant. With your permission, I'll share my screen.
thank you.
Assuming you guys can see that.
Yep.
Okay. Property is located at 4 Pocasset Street, adjacent to Little Pond. Currently developed with an existing single-family home, shed, covered porch and deck, lawn and landscape areas surround the property. Resource areas on or within 100 feet of the property at Little Pond itself. Associated salt marsh. The entire property is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage, both in the V zone as well as the A zone. That delineated line basically splits the house. The FWR V zone, the 25-foot offset, is basically covers the entire property. So the 100-foot buffer to the salt marsh also encompasses the entire property. So as we all know, the entire property is in your jurisdiction. The owner recently purchased the property this summer, and they're looking to do some renovations to the home. So that's why we're here tonight. What they'd like to do is remove the existing shed to the north of the house and put a proposed addition up here to the north, 8 by 13, and then remove this little wing of the house to the west, as well as the deck, and construct a new addition to the west. 20 by 15, we have provided some redevelopment calcs on our plan. There's approximately 11 square foot decrease, so there's no increase in footprint, so there are no mitigation plantings provided. All roof runoff will go to dry wells for the new additions, as well as the existing structure, if they're not already there. We have reviewed staff report with staff. I've provided them some comments, as well as some additional information that they requested as far as the architectural plans that was sent over to them. There were comments regarding whether this addition would be constructed on a full foundation or if it was piles. Basically, if I go here, this architectural plan shows there basically 2 frost walls, and then the beams, would come from the house and cross them. So there'll be full access beneath this area. This small addition to the north of the house would be on a typical 4-foot frost wall, and it would be filled in. There's no crawl space or anything in that area. Some of the other comments were about vegetation removal and cuttings. As I stated earlier, the applicant has recently purchased the property, so any cuttings were more than likely done by previous owners, and the applicant has been made aware that any vegetation removal or cutting for views or corridors or vistas would need to be permitted through this board. And the last thing that Jen and I talked about earlier this evening was shoreline erosion. I was trying to come up with some way to determine from aerials if that salt marsh has eroded or not eroded. Unfortunately, it's very hard to do from the aerials. Jen and I talked on the phone for a little bit about this. We did talk about maybe trying to see if CZM had any maps. And what I found from CZM is their maps show along the coastlines, but not up into the pond. So unfortunately, I could not provide that information. If the board has any questions or concerns, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Okay. Jen, do you have some comments on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm struggling with this one. I'm struggling with the fact that they want to build the addition 15 feet away from that salt marsh. We all know sea level is rising. We all know these shorelines are eroding. The deck is there, it exists. I mean, I guess it would be allowable under the regulations. I just don't think it's very smart. This house, if they wanted to reconstruct it, should go up on pilings. I do not want to be in the situation 5-10 years from now asking for armoring that marsh because someone built an addition 15 feet away from the shoreline. It's a very low-lying area. I'm not quite sure, they can even do the renovations and not trip raising the house on pilings, but that's going to be a determination by the building commissioner. I'm really struggling with this, which is why I asked to see the worksheet done by the builders to see if they actually could do the renovations. So what the code says is it has to be 50% under the assessed value of the house, and the house isn't assessed at that much. And again, my concern is the construction of an addition over the existing deck, just so close to the shoreline. I'm really struggling with it. Tim has answered all the rest of our questions. I just really wanted a little bit more information on, what that shoreline has been doing for the past 10, 15, 20 years to see if we could determine a rate of erosion over there. It's just very risky. And again, it's risky. So that's why I was asking Tim to provide a little bit more information on the shoreline. It's hard to do by the aerials. I guess the maps don't show it. I would just feel more comfortable knowing what that shoreline has done over the last 20 years before I would be comfortable recommending that addition over the deck. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Oh, and Tim, thank you for telling them to stop cutting the vegetation, because that's the only thing that's going to save that property.
Alyssa, do you have anything to add to Jen's comments?
I do. There was one more note on the plan, Tim, as we've seen the past couple months from lots of folks, general house renovations. I know that you sent over architecturals, and I just wondered if those were complete because they didn't show dormers, they didn't show roof line changes. Is it all really just interior demo work?
It's interior, interior demo work plus the additions. I do not believe there's any dormer changes. Those are the plans that were submitted to zoning for the special permit with zoning.
Okay. And yes, I think that we covered everything. Just to reiterate to the board, much of the Bacchus and the salt marsh has been nearly flush cut. Same with the sumac in the road layout, and nearly all of the ornamental vegetation has been removed from around the home. So we're severely lacking in vegetation right now on the property, which will hopefully hold that land from any more erosion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. I'll start with you, Maury.
All right. Jen, you said it does meet our regs though, am I correct?
Well, I mean, they're constructing the addition over the deck. So the deck is pre-existing and the deck currently sits at 5 feet away from the salt marsh. So like I said, yes,
Yeah.
can they do it under the regulations? Yes. Should they do it? In
No.
my opinion, absolutely not. It should be raised and put up on pilings.
So that, I looked through the regs and I was trying to find a way that it wouldn't meet the regs, but the only way is if it exceeds the 50%. And, you know, they can do a project over 3 years, so they can slowly do it so it doesn't trip that 50%. Regulation wise, there's not much we can do. Recommendation wise, I don't think it's a smart approach if I was a homeowner, but I'm not them. And if they want to take that risk, it's theirs. I would hope that, Tim, you could recommend to them that I know they don't have to do mitigation, but it would be wise for them, if they're not being wise going up on pilings, that they would maybe put a little more effort into revegetating as much as possible along that bank, you know, close to the salt marsh. But I'm sure you probably tried to explain to them that moving up or back was a smarter move, but we can only do what clients want us to do. And if it's in our regs, unfortunately, our hands are a little bit tied. So I would work hard on getting some plants, and if you can get them to go up. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Maury. Kevin,
Only to second the previous comments. Thank you.
Steve,
Mr. Chairman, the addition over the existing deck, the existing deck will remain as the foundation for the addition?
No, Steve, they're going to put a frost wall in. Tim, could you share that architectural again?
Yeah,
They're going to be
please do.
removing the deck and they're going to be
Thanks.
installing 2 frost walls to support the addition. Tim will bring it up again for you.
They just mean it covers the same footprint.
Yeah,
Correct.
it covers the same
Correct.
footprint.
Okay.
Mr. Penn, you can see this, correct?
Yes.
So this is the area right here where the deck was, and then a small addition, a
Right.
small
Yeah.
existing house. We're going to remove that portion of the house, and we're going to remove the deck, and they'll install these 2, what I'm calling them frost walls. And then beams will go, the wooden beams would go across that area.
Okay, and what do you think the elevation of the frost walls is?
As far
Just
as
to level it with the house height.
it's the same elevation as the house. There's no increase in elevation.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
okay. Ron, what do
There
you
were a
think?
couple of things. The shed really isn't part of the house, right? Right now, the way it's set, aren't you going to be adding some square footage? Because the shed's not attached to the house. You're going to add an addition over there. It's going to be some additional square footage that probably should be mitigated for.
Well, the shed square footage and the addition over in that area are pretty much a wash. So the overall calcs, if you look in the notice of intent package, there's a mitigation redevelopment exhibit. So the pre versus post, it's 11 square feet less than what currently exists.
I don't understand how that happens, but okay. And what's the foundation in the original house?
The original house is a crawl space concrete foundation.
Because if that walking around the house, it's wide open to the atmosphere right now. I mean, it has to be a mess. But anyway, that's just my comment. Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Ron?
Yeah.
So, Tim, so the house itself is just a crawl space underneath with a solid foundation, correct?
Correct.
So, but what you're proposing, when you say frost wall, do you have a cross section on this? Because I'm trying to understand exactly what's gonna end up being there. Can you put that back up and then I can ask you a question?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up for you now. Let me go to this sheet here. So
All
can you
right,
see these two areas here, Courtney?
yeah,
That's
yeah, those are the,
those
so that's
are
gonna
the,
be a concrete wall, full wall, straight up, and then the joists are gonna sit on it.
correct. And it'd be
Well,
open
they'll sit on a 2x6 that's
like a
flat,
head.
and then
Yeah.
as opposed to going, having those as ground beams and putting posts up in a beam. Is that?
That's correct.
Mhm. Cause that acts as a more, that little element concerns me. I'd rather see a ground beam with posts up supporting a beam across so it's open and allows, water and that kind of stuff to get through. But I don't know that that's within our view of conservation.
Mm.
Okay, thank you. You can take that off. I have to echo Maury's concerns and obviously staff's concerns. Our regulations are such that, it's probably allowable under our regulations, but to me, the fact that coastline is unstable as it is, and it's already retreating, and you're 15 feet away from it, and it's sand over there. We're not talking, and you can't armor that bank. You can't come back in 5 years and armor that bank. A good hurricane, Category 4 hurricane with the winds in the right direction, and that whole thing is going to be gone. Now, if you were sitting up on stilts, you'd have a better chance. So personally, I think the homeowner is ill-advised to make that kind of investment in that. But unfortunately, we can't. Our job is not to protect people from their own stupidity. That's not our job. So that's all I have. Are there any other comments? Can we close this or do
I have
we
one
need more
question.
information?
I have
Yeah,
one
go ahead,
question.
Jen.
Tim,
Yes.
what is the additional square footage with the additions?
It's under
What's
the
the
200.
V-zone square footage? Did you put
Yeah.
that on the plan?
It's under the 200 square feet.
It's under the 200?
Yeah, it's big. It
Okay.
would be the area of the existing deck. I can tell you if you want to hold on a second.
As you can see, Tim, we're really struggling with this one.
No, I understand. I
I
understand.
know you do. I know. We talked about it this afternoon.
I thought I had it written down, so I apologize.
It's okay. Melissa, do you remember off the top of your head? Where is it?
What was the question again, Jen?
What is the additional square footage if we start enclosing that deck?
It's 192 square feet.
Oh, just under the thing, Tim.
Right.
You're under the
Okay.
200, yeah. But we don't know that exceeds 50% of the cost of that we can't determine. I mean, as a contractor, if I sat down and priced it out, I could determine it, but that's not my job.
It's not our purview.
I do want to recommend to the board that we add some sort of language into the order of conditions that, there'll be no armoring of that salt marsh.
You need a
So,
motion
but
for
we
that?
can do that. We can do that during deliberations.
Yes.
All right, so are we ready to close this? I guess is the question. Is there any reason to continue it for more information?
No.
The
All
only
right, then
reason we would continue it is if the board wanted to know the rate of that shoreline change. But
It'll make any
Is
I don't
that
think it'll
something
make a
that can be
difference.
determined?
that
I don't know. It'll be difficult, Courtney. There's not a lot of information up those finger ponds.
Yeah, and the other issue is, so what would that fall under our regulations if the rules?
I mean, it would, you know.
Yeah, I think, we need a
I don't think
motion
it's
to close the
necessary.
hearing.
I make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Harlow
Let's
Hawks.
go second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Are there any further comments from staff or the commission? Are there any comments in the chat room?
Not regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
And there is no one who wishes to speak for or against.
No, I guess not.
All right, then it's time for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And I,
Okay, the motion has carried. We will close the hearing and take it under advisement. Next up on the list is 2017 Kurth Lafferty Revocable Family Trust, 50 Nemasket Road, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to raise RAZE, the existing single-family dwelling and detached garage, construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, covered porch, pool, patio, and install a new septic tank and mitigation plantings. Jennifer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Tim is remaining with us to
Okay,
present his next project. And I'm also promoting Tom Lee of Teal Studios, and he is the landscape architect on the project.
okay.
Anybody else,
Tim.
Tim?
No, that's good.
Perfect.
All right, Tim, you're on again.
Again, for the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers representing the applicant. With your permission, I'll share my screen. So the property is located at 50 Nemasket Road, currently developed with an existing single-family home, detached garage, brick patio, lawn, landscaped areas, resource areas on or within 100 feet of the property are bordering vegetated wetland to the south and west, and a coastal dune to the west as well. The entire property is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage. Velocity zone for the majority of this property, except for this northeast corner, which is an A zone, but your Falmouth velocity zone covers the entire property. So therefore, the entire property is in the velocity zone. So the applicants have recently purchased the property within the last year or so, and they're looking to tear down this house and construct a new house, as shown on this plan here. We're proposing to tear it down, construct a new house on piles to meet the building and velocity zone standards. There'll be a proposed deck, patio, new driveway, gravel, proposed pool with an automatic cover on it. The structure itself and pool are no closer than what previously existed, so we meet your performance standards there. There is an increase. I'm going to try to find it. There is an increase of 717 square feet within the A zone and 81 square feet within the B zone. So there is a requirement for 2,376 square feet of mitigation plantings. So our new mitigation plantings kind of surround the property, as well as some mitigation trees that we have shown on our plan. Part of the project will be to relocate the septic tank that currently exists where we want to put the pool and move it to the north up here and then tie it back into the existing septic system. All roof runoff will go to dry wells. I think I've pretty much covered everything on my side. I'm going to kind of turn it over to Tom, and I did review the staff report with staff. They asked for the architectural plans, which I provided them. There'll need to be a revision to this plan to address a few notes and whatnot that the staff wanted to show on this plan. And there will be a revision to the landscape plan so that we can relocate some of the mitigation plantings in accordance with the staff's desires, as well as potential number of shrubs and species, but I'll let Tom address that during his presentation.
Okay, I just have a question for you before, Tim, do you have those architectural plans? Can you put them up?
Well, I can, but can Tom just go through his thing first, and then I'll
Sure, go ahead, Tom.
Tom Lee with TL Studio Landscape Architects. Good evening to everyone. So the plan is pretty simple in terms of the plantings. We have pretty much suggested a perimeter of native plants in the mitigation area that defines the lawn and the house. And then in addition, there is an area, it's not a mitigation area, but we're planting all the way to the existing road to Nemasket. And all that area, which we didn't clarify in the label, will be the plants from that native plant list, except for, of course, for the ones that I know we have some disagreement in terms of the lowbush blueberry, the bearberry, and there was one more, yeah. So huckleberry, and just to explain some of one of the reasons we use some of these lower shrubs was the site is not that big. We are honestly just trying to maintain some openness to the site without, clethra and aronia that grows 5-6 feet or more that starts to fill it in. So we wanted to ask that, and we now know your comment. Not sure if there's a scenario where if we propose to add more trees coming out of these lower, planting masses, would that be more acceptable? Again, just trying to maintain the openness of the site as much as possible. Other than that, I think Tim's covered it.
Okay. Are there any staff questions on the planting plan?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You do have questions?
Well, is everybody done? Why don't you let the whole
Well, I'm going to come
presentation
back to
finish?
Tim on the architectural.
Well, then go back to Tim and then we will present our staff report.
Okay, Tim, can you put up the architecturals? Okay,
So this is the first floor, and then we have a second floor plan, and then that, I'm assuming that's what you wanted to see, Courtney.
yep, I want to see the cross section. And that's all open as it shows.
It's all open except for the the one section in order to get access below.
And how big is the square footage of that area that's touching the ground where the access is?
I believe it's like 300 and something square feet.
That's enclosed.
That's it. Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
I don't know what I want. Hold on. It's this area, 13 by, what does that say, 25.9?
That's a big area. I mean, do you need all of that just to go upstairs? Oh, I see. You're going up around a landing.
It comes up around the landing. We're at elevation 10 and we're going up to, I believe, let me just go back up to 22. So you're going up 12 feet.
But you're going, that enclosed area is going all the way through where you've got go back to your first floor.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you've got these closets and stuff I mean,
Well-
do you need that? Why do you need that? That's,
Well, that's kind of, you know, for storage for, you know, any type of, you know, shovels you might need for outside for the driveway or any type of, you know, it's kind of like a mud room in your house where you put boots and, you know, jackets, etc.
300 square feet?
What's
whole
the square
thing.
footage, Tim?
It's 25.75 times 13. So it's 335 square feet.
Okay. All right, and we've been trying to work around 200 square feet. I mean, I know we're tinkering with our regulations, but that has some concern. We may want to re-engineer that. All right, I don't have any other questions on the plans. I'll start with staff comments.
Yes, so thank you for the architecturals. Tim, when you're looking at the revised plan, and we may need a continuance for that, can you check, Tom or Tim, can you check how the closest point of your patio? It does look like the little bit of patio by the stairs may be moving closer than that 31 feet, Tim. Tom,
Let me just
someone check.
reshare it. Are you talking about like right here?
Yeah, those three little patio, yes.
All right, yeah, I can check it to make sure it's not.
Okay.
I thought we were staying back far enough so that because this kind of dips back here. So
Yeah,
I thought
just double check it. It
I'll double
looks
check that.
awfully close when I just scaled it off. And I just kind of noticed it, so I'm like, huh. It just looks off. So I just scaled it. So it just looks close. So if you could just check that, that would be great. We're gonna revise the planting plan. Tom,
Yes.
regarding the use of low bush blueberry, bearberry, and huckleberry. I mean, bearberry is a ground cover. It grows about that big.
Yep.
We have not seen a lot of success with huckleberry. We have been trying to allow people to use the huckleberry sod, and we have 3 instances where it's just not surviving. So we are really kind of hesitant to approve the use of that huckleberry sod because it just, I think it was like we just discovered another site where it just keeps failing. We don't know why. I don't know if it's just not being properly cared for or what. It's just not working. So that's why we have some concerns with the use of that. And quite frankly, if the property owner is concerned about the tightness of the site, or if it's a small site and they want to remain it open, I mean, they're the ones choosing to put in the pool and the patio. There's a mitigation requirement. They can always reduce the size of the increase of an impervious surface if they want a more open yard. You know, they're choosing to do this. We're not forcing them to do this. This is a choice. So that's just where our concerns lie with the use of those 3. And then low bush just gets eaten, and it's just, again, we're not seeing great success with it, especially in like a coastal environment like this. You don't really see low bush. So that's where our concern is with that. And Tim, you said you are going to revise the planting plan? Okay.
Well, it'll need to be revised because I know one of your comments was all the mitigation planting within the FWRA zone. So we're going to need to kind of reconfigure it a little bit.
Yeah, and if I mean, we don't mind, like, they want to plant all the way to the driveway, that's fine, but they just can't use the B zone portion for the mitigation. And that is all I have, Courtney. We received the architecturals. We're going to revise the planting plan. And then, Tim, you heard the vice chair's comments on the enclosure. He has some concerns with that, and that's all I have.
I'll talk with the architect.
That's all I have.
Okay, Alyssa, do you have anything?
Yeah, just to elaborate on the vegetation points, Tim, for your survey, can you please survey the trees that are between the garage and paved driveway and the property line? There were several that will need to come down. So just to have those on the plan. And then there was a cedar mist. It's in that landscaping bed next to the brick patio, between like the brick patio and the zone A line. If you can just survey that on the plan too. And in terms of those 3 planting varieties that we talked about, if the homeowners would like to plant all the way up to the street, you know, we always like extra plants on property. So if you'd like to add the low bush and the bearberry and whatnot, as long as it's not part of the required mitigation, I don't think the board
Yeah.
would have a concern because they're all native. We were just wondering what is being installed over there since it does fall in jurisdiction. And then we just sort of gave an estimated shrub count in order to meet those mitigation requirements. If you want to spread them out more in the extra planting area, that's of course fine. There was a discrepancy in the survey compared to the planting plan. I think there were 3 trees proposed in the corner by the dune by the street. If we can just put those on the survey as well, just so it all matches. And then in the sand area in the past, there were some very large U's located there, which were removed. Just up to the commission if they wanted to see that square footage restored, or if they were happy to see just the extra planting area by the street being, you know, proposed. That could obviously overcompensate for that. And just to note, Tim, we are getting from the new circuit rider many, many more technical comments. So I just added that to the staff report for the sake of doing so. And it's really just a message to the board that this is a V-zone project and we're still learning more about the Limois. So future plans, if you can add that, that would be great.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve, all right, Steve, do you have anything? We're going to the commission reports now.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you. We're gonna have a continuance.
Okay, Ron?
I'm concerned about the trees, but Alyssa dealt with that issue, so I'm all set.
Kevin
As long as we got a continuance, I'm all set.
and Maury?
What is the sand area for?
It's a sitting area that you can come out away from the building. Some loose chairs may be placed in there.
All right, so like a fire pit area. So my question to you, Tom, we always want the plantings for mitigation to be the closest to the resource. So the sand thing I have no problem with, but if you're going to have to add more mitigation, you might be moving the sand area closer to the pool and filling that in with mitigation plants.
That could be a scenario, yes.
It could be just throwing that out there. Is the large oak that's almost, I don't know if it's in the road layout, but of Nemaska Road, is that staying?
It's staying.
Okay. And when you do the removal of trees, it was really, it was hard for me to find it on the plan. It's very light gray and it's very obtuse.
Okay.
If you could just put how many caliper inches you're removing and usually we put a red X through the trees, Tim, so that we kind of know where they are, so we don't have to hide and seek for them.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I think I have an X through them all. I'm looking at my plan now. It's labeled one area, existing tree to be removed, typical of 5. But I'll update it and make it a little darker. There's one near the septic tank, one near the northwest corner of the house, and then the one near the pool, and then 2 to the south of the house, adjacent to the steps coming down off the deck.
Yeah, it's just weird. The X's almost look like part of the tree. So anyway,
yeah, I can darken it up. That's not a problem.
And just I think that was. I might have one more question. But I think that was it. Sand area mitigation, close need, caliper, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Maury. My only comments are that I'd like to see the enclosed area at the ground level reduced. basically you need that for a landing and your stairway. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's the most important part of it. And I don't think you need 300 square feet to do that. The other concern I have is about low bush blueberries. My experience in highly exposed areas, they don't survive very well. So you might want to rethink those. Other than that, I don't have any. So what are we thinking? Are we're
Continuance.
looking to continue, so I need a motion and a date.
Tim, Tom, what date would you gentlemen prefer?
Are you meeting the 22nd, Jen?
Of January?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just double check what we got going on that day. Double check my continuances I just put on that day.
Come on, this should be nice and fast.
There you go, Tim.
Just 2,
Optimistic.
I think.
Just 2, and I don't think we have any. Yeah, the 22nd will work.
Is that for you to get me your revised plan?
Yes, we'll make it happen.
All right, perfect.
At the request of the applicant, we will continue this to January 22nd, 2025.
Fiscal second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this to the 22nd of January. Is there any further discussion or any comments in the chat function?
No comments in the chat function, Mr. Chair.
Is there anybody who
Let me
wants to
double
speak
check.
for or against the project in the general public? I don't hear a clamor. All right, then I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
and Steve.
Pat and I,
Motion carried is continued to the 22nd. Okay, now we move to continued hearings under a notice of intent.
Good night,
The first
Tom.
one,
Good night. Thanks.
good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
first up in continued hearings is Sarah Reber, the Denklia Reba Trust, Family Trust, 13 Cricket Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, an existing family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling, upgrade the existing sewage disposal system, conduct invasive species removal and restoration, and install mitigation plantings. Has this been previously opened?
Yes, Courtney. Tim
So the
Santos
quorum
is.
is.
The quorum is everybody.
The quorum is everybody. Okay. Who is making the presentation? Teresa, are you the,
We have Tim Santos is still with us,
oh my
Merrill.
God.
and then we have Teresa and Jenny from Blue Flax Design.
Okay. Well, Tim, you're on deck yet another time.
All right, this is my last one for the night. So
It's the Tim show tonight.
we'll hopefully we can get this one closed too. So, all right, for the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers, representing the applicant. With your permission, I'm going to share my screen. This project was before you. I'm just going to say a few weeks ago now, before the holiday season, at which time we presented what we were looking to do. It's basically a tear down and rebuild of the existing home, new structure, new septic system with a denitrification component, and mitigation and invasive removal plantings that Teresa and Jenny will talk about in a minute. At the last hearing, we requested a continuance, one, so we can meet on site with staff to review the areas of invasive removals and restoration so that everybody could be on the same page. And we've done that, and I believe we're all on the same page now. At the last hearing, we also had a conversation about whether the patio was technically moving closer or not. At this time, we've decided to remove the patio from the plan before you. And what we're going to do is reconstruct the shed that currently exists now, 12 feet off the coastal bank and 19 off the BVW. And we're going to relocate it behind the house so it's 25 feet off the coastal bank and 29 feet off the BVW. There is still a small corner of the house in this, I think, southeast corner here. over the 50-foot BBW line. It's approximately 10 square feet. We're hoping that the commission can make a finding that would allow us to leave the house as proposed, as the overall improvement of the site that we're doing here is a better outcome than what currently exists. At this time, I will turn it over to Teresa and Jenny so that they can talk about the revised landscape and mitigation plan.
Teresa.
Yes, thanks, Tim. I was going to let Jenny start, but let me just share my screen with your permission, Mr. Chair. So we can look, I'll just quickly review what we've done to the plan and then let Jenny talk about that in more detail. With the change to the proposed shed versus the previously proposed patio, there's just been some minor change to the area that's going to be covered with fescue microclover lawn. Otherwise, our proposed mitigation and restoration planting plans basically remain the same. The area of bamboo, there was a staff note regarding the area of bamboo. We're going to, most of the bamboo will be removed with the excavation for the demolition and then excavation for the new foundation of the house. In the areas where the house and septic are not being excavated, we are proposing to excavate down about 2 feet, and that should remove a significant amount of that fibrous root system of the bamboo, which will gain really good control over that. It's very resistant to herbicide treatment, so we're trying to do this with mechanical removal, which is kind of the opposite of what we normally do when we're working in the 50-foot buffer zone. This particular species is really challenging to manage. If we can get the majority of the fibrous root system out of there, it's not a deep-rooted species, unlike it's not like Japanese knotweed or some of our other invasive species that are really deep-rooted. So it does lend itself well to mechanical removal. And then we can more successfully treat any resprouts that pop up here and there with herbicide versus going in and trying to treat all of that bamboo with herbicide. So that's the goal with that. So I think overall the plan generally remains the same. I just want to reiterate what Tim stated about the plan for all of you who have been out to this site. This is probably one of the most degraded sites that we've dealt with in a long time. And I think overall, not only the mitigation and restoration that we're proposing, but the reconstruction of the dwelling is such a significant improvement to this site that I don't see any downsides to this project at all. It's a very modest house. It's an incredibly small lot. It's an incredibly constricted lot. And I think the architects have done a really good job of providing reasonable living space for the homeowners in a very tight area. So with that additional mitigation and restoration, I think we've got a really good plan that we're presenting to the commission. I do want to add that we are in conversation with the neighbors to the east. They are very much interested in removing that bamboo that's on their side of the property. They're very much on board with that. So I suspect we will be coming to the commission very soon with a proposal to remove that bamboo on that side, which will be further improvement to the site conditions here. So happy to answer any questions. Jenny, I'm sorry if I ran over you. If you've got anything else to say, please jump in and add it.
Sure. Thank you, Teresa. I can just mention a couple of things that have changed since the last time that we showed this plan. It's pretty minor and for the most part, responding directly to the comments that staff made last time, but I'll just flag those. One, there was a question about whether the root barrier would be installed along the eastern property line, and we've hopefully made that a little clearer visually and also wrapped it around the southern corner to kind of enclose the whole area the whole project area. Tim moved the limit of work outside the restoration or the mitigation area to include the limit of work. Previously, we were showing that outside the limit of work, so that's now included. And we've significantly beefed up the density of shrubs. It's the same list of species, but just much more dense within the mitigation area. The other difference is that we've pulled up the additional restoration area to the 50-foot buffer. That's mostly low shrubs and low bush blueberry, so it'll create kind of a transition between the low grass and wildflower mix that's proposed over the septic area. But just to flag that there's a little bit more coverage than there was previously. And otherwise, Teresa pointed out the slight adjustments in the clover fescue lawn just to more appropriately surround the changes in the proposed patio. And I think that's everything that changed. Otherwise, the landscape plan is largely the same since you reviewed it in December. Thank you.
So you guys are done with your presentation? Okay. I think you can unshare. Jen, do you have any comments?
My only comment is that the staff has to stay very true to the regulations. So we cannot recommend encroaching that 10 square feet closer to the resource area. That's going to be the board's determination. But as staff, we have to recommend what it says in your regulations, and it says you can't move closer. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Alyssa, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, so I will go
Courtney.
to comments from the commission. And I'll start with Kevin.
The regs are the regs. If you can't move closer, you can't move closer. End of comments.
Okay. That's it. Ron?
No, I think it's a great improvement on the site. As you said, it's the most degraded site I've ever seen in my life on my short term on the commission. I'm interested in that in the neighborhood, the neighbors' bamboo too. I'd be very favorable, look favorably on that proposition to come over and remove that. And as far as the 10 square feet, I'm with Tim. I could give them a pass because they've done such a great job on such a degraded site.
Yeah.
That's my comments.
Okay. Maury?
I think I mentioned it before, but maybe I missed it. It is a very degraded site, and I think this is a great improvement. But when you say it's going to be a robust planting, there's only actually 23 native shrubs, and the rest are pretty much, grasses, perennials, 42 low bush blueberry. So it's not so robust with any woody indigenous. It's more flowers and grasses. So I wasn't happy with it then, and I'm still not happy with it. I think there would be a little bit more, I would see more substantial planting. And are you going to do a root barrier possibly to prevent the bamboo encroaching? Okay, he's saying yes. Perfect. And where do you bring the excavated contaminated bamboo rooted soil?
So we generally bring it to a composting facility that does not share that soil with others. So for instance, not like the local landfill where people just go and pick it up. So that is, I honestly don't know in Falmouth where our crew is taking that, but I will get you that answer, Maury. Because obviously we want to prevent that. What we do not want, similar to Japanese knotweed, is that material spreading or being spread on other sites.
Yeah, and it's a real challenge to find any places that'll take that kind of, it's almost like hazardous waste, basically.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
And a lot of the guys that take stuff out, they just bring it to wherever and they just throw it in the pile, and the next thing we know, we drive all around Falmouth, and the Japanese knotweed, you can pretty much tell where everybody went and got their dirt, and everywhere in town is sprouting up Japanese knotweed.
I agree with you 100%. One of the biggest issues that we have with managing things like Japanese knotweed are when people bring in fill or loam from sites that are from places that we're not Familiar with.
Yeah.
So for instance, on this site, to bring in material, we would recommend bringing in bank run sand mixed with compost to
Yeah.
add some organic material. And I think we'll also improve drainage on the site for any material that we would recommend bringing in. So I agree with you 100%. It's a huge concern for us as well.
I know you guys are going to do the right thing to get it out, but then we never know where it goes. That's why I was curious, because
Yeah.
I have no clue where anybody brings any of this stuff anymore.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I will check with our field manager and find
Let
out
us
where
know.
exactly in
It'd be
that
good to
area.
know.
I will definitely let you know. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that is a real problem. Steve, I'm sorry, I missed you.
No, you didn't. It was my turn next.
Oh, okay.
But thank you.
So, all right, then we're,
And
so my
I'm
only
with-
comment is that, I'm concerned about the knotweed, and where it goes. I'm also concerned, is 2 feet deep enough to get the bamboo?
It is. So the bamboo has more of a fibrous root system that's closer to the surface than some of the other invasive species. So 2 feet is actually really adequate. We don't want to excavate more soil than we need to. So so I do think that 2 feet is adequate for bamboo. Yes.
And so where is that gonna go?
Well, that's what Maury was asking. So I will get the answer to that and I will report that back to you. I'm not exactly sure in Falmouth where our crew takes that material, but I will get an answer for that. I should have been prepared with an answer to that question. It just
Yeah,
So
okay,
I'll get
and
the
you put the plan back up. I want to see the 10 feet we've got an issue with.
Yes, I can share that. Okay, so the 10-foot area is, I'm going to zoom in. It's this, and I understand the regulations. I do understand, and I understand the staff notes and Jen's position on this. This is the small corner of the 10 square feet here. I will say that what's existing in this site, this is staked in the field, so it's very difficult to walk around this site because we did cut some of the bamboo away with permission from the commission, from the staff, to allow for the staking, but it's very difficult to walk in here because the bamboo stumps are so challenging to walk over, so it's somewhat unsafe. But in this area back here where this 10 square foot, there's no existing vegetation. What's back here right now in this area, sort of just to the east of where the existing shed, there is an old toilet, there's an engine block, I mean, it's a dump, basically. There's a lot of garbage in here. So that's, I think, why we felt that with the overall mitigation and restoration, that this area, while we do understand it's 10 additional square feet within the 50-foot buffer, that we're not getting any closer. The closest point to the resource area existing is the corner of the house to the top of Coastal Bank. This is a little bit further away from the bordering vegetated wetland, and this 10 square feet does get a little bit closer than the closest existing point of structure. Of course, the shed is closer to the BBW than the main primary structure itself. But we felt comfortable requesting this because the area is basically just full of large debris kinds of garbage, not just somebody dumped some bottles and cans, but
Right.
large debris that we'll be removing and in order to restore that area.
So we just need to, you're suggesting that this is, the trade-off is worth it. Is that what your argument is?
I mean, there's a significant, I know it's just a small area. I'm not sure if the architects are on this hearing and could speak to that. But it changes the whole, they have to, there was a lot of challenges to this, as you can imagine, making sure that we could find adequate parking in the front, and because of all the different constraints on this lot. So I think that if the 10 square feet is not approved, they'll have to redesign the architecturals. And I think the hope is that with the overall improvements to the site, that the commission could make a finding that the 10 square feet would not have an adverse impact on the resource area.
So,
Teresa, are the architecturals completed?
Tim, do you?
Yes, they are, because the project we filed with zoning too, so the architecturals have been completed.
do we have them?
I was gonna say, it might be, if the board is struggling with the 10 square feet, because
I can submit them to you, that's not a problem.
we can submit them, Tim, but I mean, so is this how many stories is this house?
It's a 2-floor house. The first floor,
So
the first floor is
62
living space, and the second floor would be bedrooms.
So
I mean-
62 times 18 is 1,000 times 2. So this house is roughly around 2,200 square feet of living space. That's not a,
I thought it was 1479. If
Was
it's
it?
not
I mean,
turn.
that would be like a footprint.
oh, well, no, the footprint is, and that's just
11.
me. It's even larger than that because that's just me going off the length of the house and the width of the house. And the reason I'm kind of going the road I'm going down is we were told it was a very modest house, might be compared to other houses in Falmouth, but you know,
Yeah.
the board's just going to have to make a decision.
I would say it is a pretty modest house. I mean, it's 18
Okay.
feet wide.
Okay, yeah.
No, we're not a 30, 40 foot wide house. And also on another note, we are incorporating the nitrification, the nitro system in, which the Board of Health has approved. I mean, there's a lot of pluses here. The nitro system is voluntary. It's not required. We feel that it's appropriate to do in this location. So I believe there's a lot of improvements on this lot over what currently exists.
Okay.
So is the issue at hand just that little triangle in that corner?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So, I mean, to me,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think that could be redesigned and make it work. I mean, everything else you've done is beautiful, and it's just a question. We have regulations and we start going all over the place on them and the line becomes blurred. That's what we have to wrestle with as a commission. And so, do we think we want to continue this? Maybe the architect can come up with a fix on this, getting creative over a cup of coffee or something. Or do we feel we have enough information? We want to close it. It's your call. It's the commission's call. Anybody want to make a?
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion to close the hearing.
Driscoll second.
Okay, we have a motion to close, and we have a second.
We do.
Okay.
Driscoll.
All right, so we have a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Is there any further comments from the commissioners or staff? Do we have any comments in the chat room?
Let me check, Mr. Chairman. Teresa or Jenny, whoever's sharing, could you please? Thank you, Teresa. Nothing in the chat, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and is there anyone that wants to speak for or against?
I'm looking. Let me see. Nope, nobody's has their hand raised.
All right, then I think we're ready to vote. Bird, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Hollow Hawks Eye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And I.
We have closed this hearing and take it under advisement. Okay, next.
Thank you for your time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Had I had a chance to speak, I would have been very supportive.
Steve, I just
Okay,
wanted to
nice
wish you
job, guys. I know that's
good luck
that's a
tomorrow
tough
night in
lot.
your
You've done
game.
some
So
interesting
Thanks.
things.
Go
Okay.
Penn State.
take care. Thank you.
Good night.
All right, moving on. The next one, Wayne Van Wart, Seashell Community Association has been continued. Next up, Dana Roden, Quistit Harbor Land Trust, 71 Quistit Harbor Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing licensed pier in the same footprint. Has this been reopened before?
This has not been open, promoting Dave Martin to present his project. The night this was on, there was that bad storm where everybody was losing power and Dave lost power. So we have not opened it. The quorum is all of you.
Well, then we're ready.
And
David,
I've just promoted Dave Martin of Dave Martin Engineering to present his project.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, and thank you, board. Shall I share my screen?
Dave,
Sure.
we don't see you.
David, we need to see your face.
Oh my goodness. What are we gonna do now here? Let me drop out of that. Why are you not video?
You were on before. There you
Yeah.
go.
How come
Whoops.
I toggle it and it,
There you
how's
go.
that? Let's start that again. We'll go back to share. Oh, how does this come up here? Oh my word. Let's pick this one. Share. Is that? Oh no. Wrong button. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
We just close that out. Oh my God, there's too many tabs. Let's try this again. Back to the beginning.
Jen, do you have the plan that
Do you see that now?
No, we don't see it, Dave. I can get the plan, Courtney. It's just gonna take me a sec because I have to jump on to the the
thing.
VPN. I can get it. Let me just get onto the VPN real quick.
It's not
I mean, if
working.
you can find it, Dave, we'll do it. Whoever is first.
I'll race you, Dave.
I want to figure this out. Oh my goodness, it's just not.
Problem is, I might freeze up on this if I'm doing the
Here we are.
VPN
I
at the
got
same
it figured
time.
out. I'm so sorry. It's getting late, and is that working?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Beautiful. David, you get a gold star for
Well, I've been
technological
away.
excellence.
I've been away too long. Here we are, the west side of Quistit Harbor. If any of you have been out to the Knob, you probably parked over at the head of the harbor, walked along this path out to the Knob. We have land under ocean, land subject to coastal storm flowage. We have a small coastal bank. We have small coastal beach. We have two structures. Well, we have structures here. The first part of the pier is licensed solid fill. It's stone. It's in very good shape. The project before you tonight is to request permission to reconstruct this timber pier, which is in advanced state of deterioration. The fastenings have failed. When they corroded, they sort of exploded all the timbers, structural timbers. The decking is in failure, and the pilings are neck down and they're in failure. So Schultz Marine, Ben Carson would come in, barge and crane, sufficient depth of water here, remove the structure, take it away on the barge, dispose of it properly, and reconstruct the pier with non-treated materials and stainless steel fastenings. That's really sort of the whole of it. Shall I stop sharing or not?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yes.
It's stop.
All right. So Jen, do you have any comments?
We don't really have any comments on this one. It's just a replacement. We'll be working with Dave to figure out permitting those floats properly or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I recently submitted, we part of the continuance was to address staff comments. There was that one outstanding item. And it was a day or two ago, I finally put my hands on some of that paperwork.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it and work through that with you, Dave. Not a big deal.
Great.
Doesn't need to hold this project up.
Excellent. Thank you. Alyssa, do you have anything? You're
Sorry,
muted. Do you
no
have any-
comments.
No
Thanks.
comments. Okay, we'll go to the commission. I'll start with, I'll try to remember that I called on Steve Patton before. Steve, you're up first.
Hey. No, I don't have any questions. Good work, Dave.
All right, Maury.
No questions. Nice project.
Okay, and Ron.
Good luck, Dave. Good project.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay, and Kevin.
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I don't have any either. Good project. So our pleasure is to close this.
I make a motion to close the hearing, taken under advisement. Harlow Hawks.
Do we have a
Just a
second?
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close this hearing and take it under advisement. Before I do that and call for the vote, are there any comments in the chat function?
No, and no hands
And
raised.
is there anyone who wants to speak before?
Doesn't
against the
appear to be.
project? And do we have any other further comments? Then hearing none, I'll call for the vote to close the hearing. Bird, aye. Kevin
O'Brien, aye.
and Maury
Harlow Hawks, aye.
and Ron,
Just go by.
Steve.
And
Motion carried. The hearing is closed. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you,
night.
Dave.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Okay, moving along. The next one, Nicholas Polcharonis, I guess, on Central Avenue, Falmouth, has been continued. So we go to Margaret Strekosh, trustee, Strekosh family, 2014 irrevocable trust, 158 Westwood Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, deck, porch, install a pool with a patio and retaining wall, upgrade the existing sewage disposal system, repair part of the damaged revetment, and install mitigation and restoration plantings. And I believe we have a full quorum because Steve and Ron have done their homework.
Yes,
Am
we.
I correct in that assumption?
You're correct.
yes, Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the plans and watched the video of the prior meeting.
All right.
Long as it was, and the commercials are horrible on FCTV.
I agree with you, Steve.
So, good. So everybody else is on the quorum. So I will turn it over to Jennifer. Do you have any comments?
Courtney, I'm trying to promote Bracken Engineering and I'm waiting on them. There we go. I don't know if it's going to be Rob or Zach.
Well,
It's Zach. Hi, Zach.
okay.
I'm the big
You're
winner.
up. And I guess you're going to make a presentation about how good this project is.
That's the rumor.
Okay.
All righty. So thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to recap, this is a tear down rebuild, 158 Westwood. We met with the commission just before the holidays. At that time, commission had some comments regarding saving some existing trees on the property. We've met with staff. We are retaining the trees on the coastal bank or just to the south of the property, the ones along the easterly property line that were questioned before. We have talked with our contractor. They will have future and current access around the house to get to the backyard. The original plan, we had all the mitigation going up and down the sides of the property, if we remember. We have adjusted the mitigation, placed it all within the Zone A to the wall. We've gone back, spoken with the client. They're going to upgrade and repair the total wall at this time. So speaking with Jen and Alyssa, we were going to maintain all the existing vegetation in place. If the project's approved locally, we do need to get a Chapter 91 license for the retaining wall, seawall. We would then bring that in front of the state, get that approved, and then once approved through then, come back and remove vegetation in that work. Nothing would happen until that's approved through the state, and we have a pre-construction meeting with staff ahead of time. With that, we also adjusted the on-site fill that was questioned before. We've reduced that, pulled everything back so we can maintain some of the existing trees on the property and still provide the coastal resiliency that we were looking for on the property. So we feel like we've met both needs on the property with that. And again, just to recap, we do believe we have a project that meets all the performance standards. We are putting a new septic system further away from the resource areas. We are providing the 2-to-1 mitigation for everything on the lot, and a little extra as well on the property. And I believe we've addressed all the comments, and I will turn it back over.
All right, thank you. Jen, do you have anything you want to discuss?
Zach, refresh my memory. Are you doing the house before the wall or the wall before the house?
House is going to have to go first, start first, because the Chapter 91 process is probably going to
Gonna take
take.
a while. Do you
Yep.
have enough room around the house to get those machines in?
Yep, we talked with the excavator. You can sneak it by the side of the house before they do any of the other landscaping around the house.
Okay. And then the trees on the plan that Alyssa noted, are they gonna be removed as well?
No, they're staying on the project as is. So
Okay, perfect.
we put them
Thank
back
you.
on. Yep.
Thank you.
Melissa?
No comments. Thank you.
Okay, move to commissioner comments. Ron?
Yeah, I think you've addressed all those issues. I think it's going to be a great project, and good luck with the wall. That's
Thank
all
you.
I have to say.
Okay, Kevin?
No further comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Steve?
The row of cedar with the neighbor, we're okay with this? The row of
They're,
tree,
they're remaining on site.
okay,
You're going.
Okay.
all right,
That's it, Steve?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Maury?
No, I'm glad that you accommodated us with a lot of our concerns. Is that what's going to be vegetated along it would be what, the north side, the west side?
So the existing vegetation is maintaining what's there today. And
What's
then
that? But the little row, I mean, you show the squiggly line, the whole length of the property line.
Yeah, this is just the tree canopy of the
Oh,
trees.
the
that
other
have been-
side, I'm sorry, the other
Yep.
side. Right.
Oh, this is their walking path, their lawn that's going down. This is just plantings along the side here, ornamental plantings.
Okay.
Yep.
And where's the contractor going to go through?
He can get through here before they plant all that.
Okay,
We
that's
still
the
have to-
side he's going to go. That's
Yep.
what I was curious. Okay. Very good. I hope he doesn't need really big stones.
We can coordinate it.
Well, you might get lucky with the state. You never know. You could get
I'm
your
hoping.
permit really quick. Okay, thank you. Nice project.
Thanks, Maury. Question on that pool. Is that a lap pool? One of those things that, he cranks up and bubbles and you swim 32 feet against the current? Or is
No,
it
it's
just
not. It's not a current pool. It's just an infinity edge pool. So it looks like it has doesn't have an edge on one side.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right. I have no other questions. It's a good project. You've answered a lot of the questions. Thank you. So do we have any comments from in the chat room?
Nothing in the chat, no hands are raised.
No hands are raised. Okay. Do we have any further comments? Are we thinking we can close this? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. I hear no more further discussion from anybody, so I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Matt and I.
We have closed this hearing and take it under advisement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, Zach. Have a
Thank
good
you,
one.
Zach.
Take care.
Okay, we move now. Next up on the agenda is hearings under an enforcement order. The first hearing, Jane Fur, 2622 and 0 Shoreview Avenue, has been continued to the 26th of February. Then we have a continued hearings under enforcement order. First one, Patrick Burke, trustee, Church Street Trust, 158 Church Street, Falmouth, Mass, has been continued until 2/26. The next one, John Cook, trustee, 209 Trust, 170 Church Street. Unpermitted removal of vegetation within a buffer to a coastal bank, I believe, is going to be continued. Jen, is that the case? We haven't voted
Yes,
on it.
that's going to be continued to February 26th.
All right, I need a motion to do that.
I make a motion to continue till February 26th, Harlow Hawks.
Driscoll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue this to the 26th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin
O'Brien, aye.
and Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
That is, motion is carried. It's continued to the 26th of February. Next up, Margaret Foffenoff, 30 Woodneck Road, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted construction of a deck, patio, and fence, reconstruction of a driveway and associated clearing of vegetation, altering of vegetation within a resource area buffer. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're going to continue that until the fence is removed and the mitigation is planted for the unpermitted, now permitted, but at the time unpermitted,
Right.
patio and deck and everything. Those are those are going to be removed by April 31st. So let's continue this to May 14th so we can confirm that that has been completed.
So the idea is to continue this hearing until the 14th of May. Do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved, O'Brien.
Driscoll
right.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing on an enforcement order until the 14th of May. Is there any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Bird, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
Motion carried. That hearing is continued until the 14th of May, 2025. And I believe that we are at the end of our formal agenda, except for one motion.
Motion to
O'Brien.
adjourn, Driscoll.
We have a motion to adjourn from Mr. Driscoll. Do we have a second?
Patton second.
We have a second from Mr. Patton. Okay. Bird, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Sorry. Harlow Hawks, aye.
Driscoll aye.
Pat and I.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.